Good evening, friends. We are live for day 2 of the first 100 days of our new president, Joe Biden. So we're just tagging along with the first 100 days that are so famous and so much talked about. The first 100 days of a new president, it's always a big deal. So I had this idea: why don't we live stream for every day for the first 100 days after the inauguration of our 46th president, Joe Biden. So this is not a stream that will be politically charged. It's more to talk about technology, to talk about business, to talk about investing, those types of things. We'll talk about social media, mostly the same kind of things that I always talk about anyway, but we're going to try something new, which is to again stream for 100 days straight. So I've never done anything quite that ambitious. So we'll see. Hopefully you'll get value out of it. Hopefully you'll participate by commenting, by sharing, liking. Please show it all the love that you can. The more you do that, the more people see it, the more impact we have. It's all about, for me, value, impact, influence in hopefully the most positive way. So I've got some notes that I'll probably look over to every once in a while to talk through, and hopefully you're seeing this clear. I'm actually streaming to 8 different destinations simultaneously. I think the most I've ever done in the past is maybe 4 or 5, but we're on YouTube. So hello, those of you that are watching via YouTube. We're on Facebook, on my page, on my personal profile, in a couple of Facebook groups. We're on Periscope / Twitter, and we're on Twitch. So anyway, that adds up to 8 different destinations. So welcome everyone, all the different platforms. I wish I could see all of your comments. It will be difficult for me to do that. That's one of the things that I'm not quite mastered, but please go ahead and interact, put in your comments, questions, anything you want to talk about, things that you might want me to cover in the next 98 days. So we'll have 98 more to go after tonight. So I'm thinking this maybe goes 30 minutes, maybe not quite that long, maybe a little bit longer. I'm not sure. The one thing I commented on in day 1 yesterday was that I'm not really sure how long each one of these will last, and I'm not sure what time I'll be able to go live. I actually like to go live after it's gone dark. It just gives me the look here that I kind of want in my quote-unquote studio. It's my office and my studio. Got a comment yesterday from a good friend saying that he thought the lighting was good. So hopefully we'll continue to actually improve on that. That is one of the things that we'll talk about occasionally, is live streaming, and how to use live streaming and how to use technology to better your potentially individual life or your business. If you're a business owner, or maybe you're not a business owner, but maybe you're help manage a business, we'll talk about the tools to be able to do that better. I'll obviously share some of my own personal thoughts, and we'll talk about marketing all the things. So I'm going to start out with 2 things that I will say in every stream, and hopefully after saying it 100 times, people will maybe start thinking that has some merit. I'm going to say those 2 things are: if you haven't, start a YouTube channel, and if you've started one, put some time into it, and I think you'll see that it's beneficial to you. Won't go into a long discussion about all the reasons why. Know the day, know the time, that topic we'll talk about. And then the other thing is start a email list. And so I'm going to recommend that you go with a tool called ConvertKit. It's completely free. to be able to manage up to 1,000 subscribers. There is a paid plan you can go for that allows you to do some other great things. But for someone that is not really managing an email list right now, or maybe you're doing it through your Yahoo Mail, your Google, your Gmail, whatever it is, and you're cutting and pasting, email addresses in there and all that's certainly, it's better to bootstrap, if you will, than to do nothing. But with ConvertKit, you can have free landing pages, so you can collect your email addresses very easily, and then you can send out broadcast messages to up to 1,000 people, and you can segment those emails into different categories, all the things. So just go to get ConvertKit for free. That's strammel.info/ConvertKit. I don't show that on the screen, but I think it is actually in the description of this. So it's free. Go get that. The other thing I'll say, so those are the two things that I recommend. Get a YouTube channel started. If you have one, commit some time to developing it, and get an email list. Now, the one other thing I'll mention before we get into some of the other topics that I want to discuss is I want to tell you real quick the technology I'm using to actually stream on 8 different platforms, and that's StreamYard. And you can see down here, nope, it's over here, right down there, the link. That, again, is something you can get for free, strammel.info/StreamYard. And you can stream up to 20 hours a month to up to 2 destinations for free. That's amazing. Have up to 10 people on a stream as guests, similar to Zoom, unlimited on that. So if you weren't actually live streaming, but you wanted to have a conference call with 10 people, you could, including yourself plus 9 other, for a total of 10, you could do that. So that's enough with that. Those are affiliate links, yes, but I've got a lot of people that have signed up and they've only ever used the free plan, and I'm more than happy to point people to it. If you do, end up going and getting some of the premium options, yes, there's cost to those, and yes, I would get a small commission, if you will, off of that. But I'm just happy to know that I can point you to tools that you can use that are absolutely free. Every one of these tools I would ever tell you they're free. Trust me, I've used them for extended periods of time with the free account, and then in some cases I've moved on, like StreamYard, moved on to a paid plan so I could have more capability. But I will say for StreamYard and ConvertKit, it's true for both of them, you get quite a bit of capability with the free plan, and it's certainly not a quote-unquote crippled version. That's terminology is used a lot of times for free software, but there's a lot of capability in those that are free. I think the first thing I'm going to recommend that I've made a new commitment to, I guess, I have a subscription to Audible. I'm a Amazon Prime member, like many of you probably are, and so I've got Audible, and I actually had looked today and I had 3 credits. I haven't even been staying up. I get 1 credit a month, which is basically one Audible book that I could listen to a month, or 1 new one that I could get into my library. I got 2 today, so I still have 1 that I'll have to decide later what I want to use for. But I got Marketing Made Simple and Business Made Simple from Donald Miller. So I don't know how many of you know who Donald Miller is, but he's I think he's got some great stuff out there. I started listening to Marketing Made Simple today. I know without a doubt that some of what I'm hearing in that book will find its way into what I share with my community. So I will say here real quick, Pop Lockin, hey Pop Lockin says, what's the topics for tonight? Well, some of the topics are, like I've already mentioned, those live streaming technology that you can use to live stream, YouTube channel, encouraging people to do a YouTube channel, email marketing. I'm going to also talk about some recommendations on some other areas that I think it might be helpful for you to focus on. I'm going to talk a little bit about our economy and how it is shifting and changing. It's already been doing that, but many of you have probably heard of the gig economy. I'm also going to talk about briefly, especially if you have kids, some thoughts that I have about how you might want to expose them to some things that will surely be a regular part of her life, and potentially the way that they will in the future earn a living, which may be markedly different from the way many of us have. And so I think we, I will say this, as long as it's still, morally safe, if you want to say it that way, I think we need to embrace the fact that the way that people earn a living can look a lot different than it ever did. And the thought that someone, for example, could make a living off of YouTube may still sound crazy to a lot of people, but it is a reality. And so we're going to do that. I'm actually have a daughter that's, really pushing me. She wants me to help her create a YouTube channel. So we will actually probably do that. And I embrace her as long as I can keep her safe, if you will, on the internet. Then I'm going to embrace her wanting to experiment with some things that might actually be meaningful for her in the future. So I will say, depending on what platform you're on right now watching this, I would like to encourage you to come over to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also turn on notifications. So you can just go to strammel.info/YouTube, and that's a short link. I try to use short links so that it's easier for me to remember, also easier for you to remember. Go and subscribe and like, and I'm hoping that I will be producing content that you guys will find valuable. If I'm not providing value, then I'm just wasting my time. That's my perspective. So let me know what you would like to what you'd like to hear about. And Rich says StoryBrand is excellent. Yes, it is. So StoryBrand is part of Donald Miller's repertoire, if you will, and it's great. I've not gone through it, but he has like some type of a training session where you can get certified in the StoryBrand approach, and I've heard only good things about it. So the first thing I'm going to do, so it's kind of related to the Audible, I have a tendency to probably, when you think about the different areas of your life, whether that's, finances or family or friends or fitness, family, fun. I may have said some of those more than once. I probably spend the least amount of time on fun, as much as I love fun. Running fast, trying to provide for my family, trying to ensure a future for them, for my kids, and that type of thing. And so I'm probably always in what some might characterize as hustle mode. I don't apologize for that. I do need to at times focus more on family and fun, and I fully realize that. But what you will hear from me most often, and hopefully you can accept the fact that you need to balance it, but what you'll hear me talk about more is the finance area and the the hustle aspect of things. So I 100% believe you can quote unquote hustle, but yet do it in a way where you can remain balanced. For me, hustling is just using your time and your talent to impact those around you, and in many cases that has a financial component to it. You're giving your time, giving your talents, and in many cases, unless that's volunteer work, that comes with receiving some type of income from it. So a lot of things that I'm going to talk about will be in the context of using your time and talent and technology. So that's the 3 T's. I've literally just thought about that in real time: time, talent, and technology. Using those to increase your impact, increase your influence, and related to that, this is in my notes as well. When you think about the approach if you're really trying to integrate what you do into where things are headed, which is, and they're already there in many ways, yes, we all know that, but they'll only increase, and that's, online type businesses, online everything. I'm an IT guy, been in IT for the last 25 plus years, and we are currently exclusively working with our clients implementing multi-million-dollar computer systems completely remotely. Again, a lot of that is because of COVID, but we will never return to the way that it used to be. And for many people, that's actually a good thing because there'll be more balance, less travel. I think we'll get back to the point where we are traveling some, but I think we will forever, at least for the next decade, my guess, travel for work-related type things that we traditionally traveled for. Much more of that will be done remotely. And then, I hope we will obviously return back to travel for pleasure, if you will, and when we want to travel. But as a person who's traveled for, easily 20 years, I would be the first to say I'm enjoying being able to spend some time at home. So experiment with streaming. That's why I mentioned StreamYard. Get StreamYard. It's super, super easy to use to go live that way. Yes, you can just turn on your phone and go live, but there's so much more that you can do with StreamYard. So if you can find the time or allocate the time to be in front of a computer, StreamYard is amazing, and I recommend it highly. I will say as well, start with what you have. You hear this in so many contexts, and it's true with technology as well. Just start with what you have. Don't wait until you have what you see others have. I tell this story often, but I started out with this laptop that I'm still using right now. Well, actually, even a laptop not quite as capable, not quite as modern as the one I have right now. The laptop I have now is only about a year old. But, honestly, the webcam that's built into most laptops and the camera, the webcam, the camera, and your audio and your microphone that are built in are, they're okay, but they really don't compare to something, once you're able to get an external microphone, which you can see actually right here in front of me, once you can get some lights, which you see behind me. And I by no means have spent a ton of money on lighting. I've just found a way to make it what I think looks pretty good on a fairly shoestring budget with regards to the lights. That is something I'm still improving on, is the lighting. But, it's mostly I, but I've come a long way, not bragging at all. But if you were to look at some of my earlier videos, my hope is that you see that the quality has increased, both the video quality, the audio quality. I've got background music playing in the background. By the way, speaking of that, if you would let me know whether that's distracting or whether you think it's cool or whether you don't have an opinion one way or another, I'm actually curious. So my hope is that I have it at a volume where it's not distracting, but at the same time, just something that creates a little bit better atmosphere. So, yeah. Let me turn the page here on my notes. I kind of already talked about this, but one of the things I wanted to say tonight is to say, encourage you, at least if you're not there yet, to rethink what you have always thought traditionally with regards to what is a business, what is something where you can make a living off of. I don't actually have the numbers memorized, and I will spend one of these episodes, I think, sharing those numbers maybe in a form where I can just present them on the screen. But the number of people that are now turning to YouTube, for example, for either entertainment or for education is a staggering number compared to what it was prior to COVID-19. And then, of course, the interesting thing is those numbers are highly likely to be sustained even after we hopefully go back to getting out and living life the way we did prior to COVID. So keep that in mind. Not distracting when someone says, I'm an interpreter and I hear everything. I like it. Great. Well, thanks for the input. And I will also say, if you're depending on the platform you're on, and I don't have this link showing on the screen anywhere, but if you would go and follow my page on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Shane, SHANE Trammell, TRAMMEL 1. So unfortunately, Shane Trammell was already taken, so there is another Shane Trammell out there in the world. Maybe they took it knowing that I would want it. I don't know. I'm joking about that, but facebook.com/Shane Trammell, that's my page. One of the things that I've been focusing on for probably the last 6 months, something I highly, that I've grasped and taken a hold of, which I believe is a good direction, and that's to focus on a personal brand. One of the voices out there, if you will, in business, entrepreneurial work that I highly respect is Gary Vaynerchuk, and he is big on talking about personal brand, and the things that I've heard him say and the things that I've read resonate with me, so I've focused on that considerably. So yeah, one of the other things I wanted to talk about, and by all means, let me know. I'm seeing some comments here, so this is great. One of the other things that I want to recommend is look into affiliate marketing, and I will do a Facebook, one of these 100 days. I'll talk about that more extensively if it's something you're interested in. So I need to hear in the comments, if you will, that it's something you're interested in. But one of the ways that you can get a second string of income, and then it will build over time. And of course, if you have a YouTube channel, that helps. But with affiliate marketing, I'll explain it briefly. Most of you probably already know it, and I'll use Amazon as one of the best examples of that. You can get in the Amazon Associate Program, and basically then you can share your quote-unquote affiliate link for items. Some of the YouTube creators out there make a substantial amount of money from people clicking on the links in the description of their YouTube video for the products that they're talking about. So by way of example, I use a Sony ZV-1 camera as my webcam to produce my videos. That's after about 6 months. That's kind of the way I do things. I actually researched for almost 6 months. I wanted to almost force myself to get a Canon M50, but for various reasons, which I won't bother you with right now, I chose the Sony, and I'm glad that I did. But many of these channels in the technology space will do what's called a versus video. So Sony ZV-1 versus Canon M50, and then in the description have links to those products, because believe it or not, and maybe many of you do, but people begin to trust the personalities that they're watching their videos on, because they begin to see that the information that they're sharing with them is true, honest, transparent. And then if they're looking for a camera and they decide to get the Sony ZV-1 and there's a link in there, then obviously they could get it from Amazon. They could get it from another place called Adorama. I have an Adorama affiliate link, or I have an affiliate account with Adorama. B&H is another one. So B&H and Adorama and Amazon, and I think you can even get an affiliate account with Walmart to be able to basically have those links in there. And I think most people, and I'd be curious to hear your opinion, I think most people, if they're getting value out of your videos, they don't see it as being tacky to be able to put in the description links where people can go get their things. I know me, at least me, if I'm watching a video of someone, for example, tell me how to use a particular light and I'm getting a lot of information that's helpful out there, I'm more than happy to, if I'm going to buy it anyway, why not click on their link, see them get some benefit out of it, and me get, what I'm looking for, and be able to even ask them questions in the future. So you're in many cases getting, in essence, buying into getting free consulting, get some of your questions answered once you get that product in. It's a win-win. And I know of no affiliate program where you as an individual are paying more because you're using the affiliate link. It is the way that, many of these companies work now. And I can tell you as well, even my YouTube channel at almost 300. So please come subscribe and turn on notifications if you're not on my YouTube channel yet. Come and subscribe at about 300. I'm at 292. If I hit 300 tonight, that would be amazing. But at 300 subscribers, I've already got some of the smaller manufacturers, asking me to review their products, to do reviews, that type of thing. So I'm starting to see what, a ways down the road could be something meaningful. We start somewhere. We all start with zero. We all start typically at the beginning. I'm looking forward to doing hopefully some collaborations with some of the other more well-known YouTube personalities, if you will, bringing value to what they're sharing to their audience and hopefully growing my own as well. But again, if I'm not providing value, then I'm just wasting my time. So that's my primary approach to things. At this point in time, I don't have a product to sell. So, you're just the beneficiary, I hope, of a video here, a video there, where you're able to get some information. So I'm going to be focusing a lot, as I mentioned, on streaming, because I think that's a very important thing for all of us to understand and at least experiment with and understand how to use. You could create a private Facebook group and then use StreamYard to stream to that group, and if it's private, you could have no one in there, and you could at least do the live stream and then go back and watch it and learn and get to the point where you're comfortable clicking that button to go live, and you're better for it. I believe that with everything in me. I am now, other than saying and things like that, I still want to improve on my delivery, but my comfort level with going live is considerably greater than it was 6 months ago. So I worry most now about just making sure my technology works, making sure or doing my best to provide an experience that doesn't turn someone off because the audio is not good or the video is not good, that type of thing. I'm going to look here at the comments just for a moment, because I am seeing some. Okay, someone's saying, they're going to sign off for now, but they'll come back and catch it on the replay. Yes, by all means, come back and see the replay. I'm glad you were here. Have a great breakfast that you have planned for tomorrow. Hope that goes well. Thanks for joining me. Another thing then, from a social media perspective, if you're a marketer of any sort, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you are involved in any way in sharing knowledge, I highly recommend that you, number one, go to Clubhouse. If you haven't heard of Clubhouse, just Google Clubhouse app or something along those lines, or I'll post in the comments here a little bit later the link. But it's by invitation only right now. But the first thing let's not even talk about the invitation for this moment. Go to Clubhouse, and you can reserve, if you will, your name. So it's very similar to Twitter and all the different things where you say @ and then whatever it is. You do what you want, but I would recommend, if it's available, that you get your name. So my Clubhouse handle, if you're already on Clubhouse, is at Shane Trammell. So pretty straightforward. That's my Twitter account as well. That's my Instagram account. The only thing that's not Shane Trammell is unfortunately my Facebook page, and it's Shane Trammell 1. My YouTube is Shane Trammell as well. So again, that theme of having a personal brand is what I'm focused on. Let me look and see. So this may be fairly short tonight, but yeah, one of the other things that I'll just mention is, and I've kind of already talked about this, but I want to highly recommend, or I want to encourage, I'll say it that way, encourage you to, try to carve out at least a couple of hours, if not more, a day to invest in learning. So, my preferred way of doing that is maybe I'm listening to an Audible book, or maybe I'm listening to a podcast, maybe I'm watching YouTube. And when I say, watching, you'd be surprised. Well, maybe you wouldn't be, because maybe you fall into that category as well. But a large percentage of people who quote unquote watch YouTube are actually only listening. So they're multitasking. And I've come to the conclusion that you are much better off, for example, to listen to a Audible book maybe 5 times where you're multitasking and you're doing other things. And so you may not think that you've remembered even a half or 1/3 of what you've heard, but you could literally listen to a book in a day if you have it going while you're doing some other things. Now, some people are highly distracted by that, others are not. And I know a lot of people love music and various other things, and trust me, I love music as well. And speaking of music, just making sure my music is still playing. But, carve out some time to invest in learning and be strategic in what you're actually learning. Obviously, it's going to be more beneficial if you're learning about things that are the future as opposed to things that are, in a sense, dead. So now what I'm not suggesting is that we can't learn from history, but I'm talking about, especially if it's with regards to technology or where business is headed, where our economy is headed, that type of thing. You got to be careful that you're reading something that's relevant and that's forward looking, or that's at a minimum at least current. And that can be hard because, especially with technology and like social media, things are ever changing, and many of these social media platforms are actually initially created for, or their primary audience is maybe that 18 to 25 or even younger category. And then those that are older than that, which includes me, begin to invade that space. And just by the nature of the fact that they're a different generation and older, bring to that platform things that that the younger generation would prefer to not have to have be there. So they move on to the next one. And that's why many of these social media platforms just have such a crazy initial surge. Now, Clubhouse, because I mentioned that earlier, based upon what I've seen at least, is a very mature platform. And what I mean by mature, the age categories that seem to tend to be there. And it's mostly, at least what I've seen, a very serious business-oriented platform. I'm sure there are fun things out there, and I'm not saying that because I think that you should only have serious things out there. But again, kind of like LinkedIn is thought of mostly as a professional type of platform. I would kind of put Clubhouse in that same category. At least that's the things that I've seen. But many of your influential YouTube creators, successful Instagram influencers, all TikTok, all that is, a lot of those people are coming over to Clubhouse. There are people that certainly don't need to, have been successful enough that they don't need to, but coming on there, spending an hour or 2 hours hosting a room. They have these rooms, if you're not familiar with it, where they have topics that they discuss. They're on their crazy hours doing that. So I think we're going to wrap this one up. Again, it is day 2 of 100 days that we're going to do our best to stream live every day. It may be literally 11:30 Central Time. It could even be 12:30 Central Time, which would technically be the next day, but I'll then claim the West Coast as my time zone just to get it in. So we not going to do it just to do it. So I do, again, as I mentioned, want to bring value, but for me, one of the things that I want to get out of it, and hopefully, again, you as a part of my community is going to get something out of it as well. But for me, the repetitive nature of that will just make me even more comfortable with live streaming, more comfortable with being in front of a camera, more comfortable with, expressing thoughts and ideas in real time. You actually get to a point, well, maybe not everyone, but I've gotten to a point where I would honestly prefer to go live than to pre-record a video, because you feel this need or urge to edit a pre-recorded video because it's not live. But obviously if it's live, you're not going to edit it as you're doing it, because that would just be crazy, and it wouldn't I don't think it would be well received if you're sitting here somehow and editing it as you're going live. It would be very disjointed, would not feel live, it would just not work. So many people will take their live streams and edit them afterwards, sure, and use parts of it, pieces of it. And so that's another plus of live streaming, or even if you did a pre-recorded video, but you could post that on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, whatever, and then take chunks of that, segments of that, and use it in some of these other formats, Insta Story, a TikTok, what have you. One of the other things I'll mention about Clubhouse, if you're not familiar with it yet, 2 other things that you should know if you've not actually got onto it is it's iOS only. So in other words, Apple, iPhone or iPad or whatever, you need iOS to run it. I'm sure they will eventually come out on Android, but that's something you should know. And it's also audio only, and there's no recording of it unless the description and in the title, the person that started the room basically says, hey, we're going to record this, and then they're allowed to, but most of it is not recorded. So it's a really interesting kind of concept where there's a 2-hour long conversation going on and no record of it other than maybe the notes that people took, and maybe they then go live on a format where it's then captured, if you will. So I could listen to a 2-hour Clubhouse room session, and obviously if I took notes and then thought it was important enough to share with my audience, and I could go live on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, and then in one sense it would be recorded for posterity, if you will, in that way. But I don't think that happens too often. So I'm going to just look over at my notes real quick. I will share with you one other thing, and this is back to really what I opened up with, talking about Audible. I didn't mention, if you sign up for a trial for Audible, if you're a Amazon Prime member and you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you get 2 free Audible books that you can keep even if you don't continue with your, if you don't keep the subscription and start paying. And you also get an email before your trial is over so that you can decide to cancel it or whatever. So I think they do require a credit card initially, but you can cancel before the 30 days are over, and no money out of pocket. And if you decide to keep it, it's month to month, and you can cancel it at any time. So if you want to use my link, it's strammel.info/audible. And excuse me, nose is itching. If you go to strammel.info/audible, then you'll get an opportunity to sign up for the trial. The one other thing I'll mention is, excuse me so much. The other thing I'll mention is there's really two options. There's just Audible. The first plan is $7.95 if you decide to keep it, and you really only get to listen to the books that are Audible books that are in the quote unquote the catalog. There's a lot of them and a lot of good ones, but if you want to be able to basically download just about any book that's out there that you would probably be interested in, that's the Audible Premium, I think they call it. That's $14.95 a month if you decide to do that, and you get 1 credit a month for that. And if you're just a crazy reader / listener, you can get more credits, and that way you could get more than 2 or more than 1 a month. But I've found, at least for me, given all the other things that I do, 1 credit a month is more than enough. And as I mentioned earlier, at least for me, if I listen to things more than once during my day, if you will, and as I'm doing other things, I think that just sinks in better for me. So I think that's all I have for day 2. Like I mentioned, let me know if there's things that you would like to talk about, questions that you have. I will be doing other videos outside of this live stream to talk about some of these topics in detail and for an extended period of time, but I'm also open to using one of these live stream 100-day sessions to talk about something very particular and at a fair amount of length, if you will, if there are enough people asking for it. So in other words, if you want to know more about how to up your game, let's say you're already doing live streaming, maybe you're just live streaming from your phone, which is, depending on the kind of phone you have, as far as the video quality, potentially amazing, honestly, but maybe the audio is not quite where you want it, or maybe you want to step up your game and be able to have, like you can see on this video here, an overlay. In other words, these links that I have showing up in the top right and left corner and the bottom right corner, those types of things, you have to do some things extra, if you will, to make all that stuff happen, or to be able to add that to your live stream. It's not rocket science, but that's something I can help people with to get them started faster. I learn 90% of this stuff on my own, learn it from watching other videos on YouTube, but hopefully maybe I can make your journey faster, simpler, easier, maybe even cheaper. Maybe you won't spend some money on things that ultimately will not be best for your live stream. Maybe I can save you from making a few mistakes. Sometimes we need to make mistakes, don't get me wrong, but my hope is that I can help you, because I know that I've come a long way. I'm not where I want to be necessarily, and I have my limitations as well as with regards to what I can actually do. My biggest limitation, and what I see right here in front of me, is not always what you may see on your end because of my internet connection. I live out in a rural area, and the most important thing for live streams with regards to your internet is your upload speed. And since I live in Podok, as they call it, country. And I love where I live. Don't get me wrong. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. But with that comes some things. Number one, food. And I'm only halfway joking. Food is always a challenge to find some of the things that I was able to experience when I lived in a bigger city, and internet. So, you're best off if you have at least 10 megabits per second upload speed. And you can just go to speedtest.net, I think it is, and you can test the speed of your internet. 10 megabits per second upload speed is the best. I'm probably getting around 4 or 5 tonight. I've actually had the internet company come and check my system because I'm supposed to get around 10 megabits per second upload, and I'm not getting that on a consistent basis, so they've got to make some changes. The one other improvement that I did make, though, which I was supposed to get when my internet was originally installed, was a direct connection into my office. So now I have an Ethernet connection, in other words, a cable coming directly from my internet in our closet where it all comes into my office, connected to my computer, so I have a consistent connection, which is ultimately better for your live stream. So I can't tell you how many times I've seen comments on the StreamYard group, saying, hey, are you hardwired? Are you hardwired? Not just to me, but, always asking people that are saying they're experiencing problems. Are you hardwired? Are you hardwired? And I've always been saying to myself, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I would like to be. I would like to be. Finally, I am. But the reality is, and this goes back to what I said earlier as well, to use what you have or start with what you have. The reality is, some people may not have the ability to have a hardwire, period. I mean, wireless or Wi-Fi may be the only thing they're going to be able to have. And you can get Wi-Fi that's, upwards to 10 megabits per second, if not more, depending on how you set things up. So that is definitely it for the night. I've enjoyed spending time with all of you, that we're on live tonight. Thank you for joining. Come back tomorrow. If I can get to it enough in advance, or if my schedule allows me to, on some nights, I will send out basically an announcement, if you will, so that you'll know ahead of time when I'm going live, and maybe you can more easily join me that way. So have a good evening, and we will see you tomorrow for day 3. All right, bye.